Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Elias and today I want to tell you about the impact and importance of music in the civil rights movement in the United States of America. To really understand it, we have to take a look at the history of slavery in the US. In 1619, the first African slaves came to the English colony of Virginia. A big part of their heritage got lost because of their heterogeneity. This came about due to the fact that many of them were of different tribes, were sold individually, and thus separated from their families. This is why a new culture arose, which built upon two main components: music and religion. The first musical type they created was the so-called Negro spiritual, a common expression of the community of suffering and hope. And this is also the first time where you can find the call and response structure, which became an essential element of the music of the civil rights movement. Then there were also the work songs and field hollers. These were used to facilitate the work by singing and to match the tempo and rhythm of the work. Now we jump to the year of 1865. This is when the American Civil War ended and thus the slavery. Many African Americans fled from rural regions because of discrimination and migrated into big cities. This is the first time where African American people lived in confined space, and this is how ghettos were formed. This is also the time where a new awareness emerged, the so-called Harlem Renaissance. It was the recognition that identification and adaptation to white culture does not lead to integration. They focused on the African roots and their skin color and their own identity. This is what led to the civil rights movement in the late 50s and late 60s. The musicians who wanted to empower the movement drew more inspiration from the spirituals than from the secular African American music like the jazz, the blues, the rhythm and blues, or gospel, because spiritual music is more related to the community while secular music focuses on the individual. Music was used at demonstrations, rallies, and marches. The music helped to unify everyone, relieve anxiety and nerves amongst diverse crowds, boost people's morale, and give them power and courage. The lyrics were often repetitive so that the crowd could join in while protesting. Well-known musical representatives of this time were Odetta, Nina Simone, Sam Cooke, John Coltrane, Pete Seeger, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, and James Brown. But not only African American musicians helped to fight the racism, so did the white rock and rollers too. In the mid-60s, when the British invasion rolled over the US with bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, they were shocked to see segregated audiences at their concerts, so they refused to play in front of them. And this helped to sensitize the young white population to the issue. The famous song Blackbird, for example, is about the suffering of the African American people. All in all, one can state that the music played an essential role in the civil rights movement. The spirit of the movement and its music lives on in younger generation to this day, as in the hip-hop, for example. Rapper collectives like Public Enemy today create the soundtrack to the Black Lives Matter movement, which can be seen as the daughter of the civil rights movement. As the African American Congressman John Lewis once said, the civil rights movement without its music would have been like a bird without its wings.